Alright fellas, here it is, the Hullabaloo. This is the new weapon for Guardian games this year, and it's unique for so many reasons. Number one, it's an arc compressed wave frame heavy. And number two, it can roll with trait combinations like Volt Shot and Chain Reaction, which by the way, we got. Listen, it's not often that we actually have RNG line up for us. Normally when RNG does line up for us, well the weapon is normally pretty mid. But today we're going to be reviewing this wave frame heavy grenade launcher front to back and all the different trait combinations you can get. Now before we get into that, we need to talk the buff that just got handed out to these wave frames. Again, this is just for heavy wave frames. Bungie increased the damage by 20%. They also increased the width by 40%. Now before yesterday, the only other heavy grenade wave frame that we had, that was a legendary at least, was the Stasis Dimensional wave frame, which is what we're going to be really comparing it to today. Let's start by looking at our perks first. In our third column, we have Volt Shot, Grave Robber, Envious Assassin, Auto Loading Holster, Field Prep, and Line Action, and Impulse Amplifier. In our fourth column, we have Golden Tricorn, Disruption Break, Collective Action, Chain Reaction, Cascade Points, Vorpal Weapon, and One for All. All around, so many good options. In the third column, I think most people are probably going to be looking for Volt Shots, which is normally a perk we find in our fourth column. Volt Shot reads that reloading this weapon after defeating a target overcharges this weapon for a short period of time, causing it to jolt on its next hit. Now, this is a fantastic perk on so many weapons. Indebted Kindness is one of my favorite. Undercurrent, which is a special wave frame grenade launcher, also rolls with Volt Shots. It's great because it synergizes with Arc 3.0, and of course, it jolts targets, which means it can do things like stun overload champions, for instance. Now, other options we have in that third column include things like Envious Assassin, where defeating targets with other weapons before drawing this one transfers ammo to the magazine from reserves. And this effect can overflow the magazine base on the number of targets defeated. Now, this perk actually got nerfed with yesterday's update, so that now each activation is capped at 100% of the magazine instead of 150%, meaning the maximum overflow is now 3 times the mag instead of 4 times. Now, what does this mean for Hullabaloo? Well, for a base magazine of 5, that means you can get up to a maximum of 15 shots loaded in the mag, which I gotta say, even post-nerf, that's still really solid. Now, in terms of other third column perks, you've got Field Prep, which is really good as it increases both ammo reserves and it gives you faster reload, stow, and ready speed while crouched. Now, moving over to our fourth column, I think the obvious choice here is Chain Reaction. It reads that each final blow with this weapon creates an elemental damage explosion. Now, of course, this is a go-to trait for weapons like Forbearance. This is essentially what made Forbearance arguably the best-in-class PvE wave frame grenade launcher. But we're not talking about Forbearance, Chain Reaction. We're talking about Hullabaloo, which literally has the best of both worlds. The combination of Volt Shot and Chain Reaction together. And this is currently the only weapon in the game that can get this trait combination. Now, I know most people don't like the idea of having Volt Shot on a heavy, normally because the reload speed is a bit slow. But fellas, I didn't mind it. And the way you're really supposed to use this is like you spray it down on the ground, snag a few kills, clear the ads, use Chain Reaction to do so, and as soon as you remove like the immediate threats, then you reload. And boom, now you've got Volt Shots. Now, could you choose something other than Chain Reaction? Well, you do have One for All. This gives you a 35% damage bonus after hitting 3 separate targets, which is even easier to do considering that the wave width has been increased by 40%. You also have Vorpal, but keep in mind that's only a flat 10% buff. Golden Tricorn is also present here, which starts off as a 15% damage bonus after 1 kill, and then a 50% damage bonus if you reach tier 2, which requires scoring a grenade or power melee kill after reaching tier 1. Collective Action is also present here, which will net you a 20% damage bonus when collecting an elemental pickup, which is really easy to do considering this is an arc weapon. And if you're leaning into like a Fallen Sunstar and an Ionic Trace build, that's no problem. Now, Cascade Point is also present here, as this will allow you to blow your load extremely fast, but not something I would recommend on a wave frame, considering you're just gonna blow through all your ammo. For me personally, guys, the Volt Shot Chain Reaction roll is what I want. Maybe if you didn't want Volt Shot, you could do Envious Assassin Chain Reaction, but I'm completely fine with the reload speed. Now, this takes us to Hullabaloo's performance inside of PvE. Now, considering we didn't have Hullabaloo pre-update 7.3.5, we're utilizing our other heavy wave frame here for some pre-damage values. We were doing 44,740 damage versus Carl and 62,258 damage versus Red Bar Ads. Now, keep in mind, this wave length was pretty narrow. Post-update, we're doing 53,688 damage versus Carl and 74,709 damage versus Red Bar Ads, which again lines up to our 20% damage increase. Now, we do this simply because we want to make sure Bungie's numbers do align with what they say in the patch notes. I think what you will notice though is that wave width being a lot bigger, meaning it's a lot easier to score those kills and even multi-kills, especially with Hullabaloo. Now, I want to talk about the Volt Shot Chain Reaction roll first. Against Carl, Volt Shot is dealing 6,260 266 damage, and of course it's applying Jolt as well, which chains to nearby targets. Then for Chain Reaction, its explosion damage when hitting Carl was dealing a maximum of 15,132 damage. Again, this depends on how close the target is to that initial Chain Reaction explosion. That means in an ideal situation, you would be dealing 53,688 wave damage to Carl, plus an additional 21,398 damage from both Volt Shot and Chain Reaction. But keep in mind, guys, that's literally best case scenario. Now, I wanted to do just a side-by-side comparison to some of our special grenade launchers. What I was most curious about when comparing it to Forbearance and Chain Reaction and Undercurrent and Volt Shots is, do these traits scale differently because it's a heavy? Well, Volt Shot damage on Undercurrent is also 6,266, so it's still the same there. Chain Reaction, though, for Forbearance is 11,024, and that was the maximum damage we could get with Forbearance. So Hullabaloo actually has slightly more damage in its Chain Reaction, and that's due to the fact that it does scale. But unfortunately, Volt Shot here doesn't scale that way. Now, how does this compare, though, to our other heavy grenade launchers? Well, Hullabaloo at base would be dealing 268,440 damage from a single magazine, giving us a DPS value of 133,155. Now, its total damage would actually equal out to 1,234,824 damage. Now, if we were to compare this to Cataphract, this is just a base Cataphract, which, by the way, received a direct hit impact damage buff by 10% and a 5% buff to detonation damage, and a reserve ammo increase, but a nerf to spike grenades, it's still dealing 327,348 damage from a single mag, giving us a DPS value, get this, of 129,233. So just slightly less than what you're pulling off here with the Waveframe. Now, its total damage comes out more at 1,363,950. Again, though, this is base. Keep in mind, when we take things like Cataphract with bait and switch, and we really start upping those perks, we start to include things like unraveling rounds. Obviously, that grenade launcher really starts to pull ahead. But it is impressive that our heavy Waveframe grenade launchers is actually able to hold its own. Now, what really holds back this archetype is the ease of use. You know, with a regular grenade launcher, you can just blow your load straight in the boss's face. But Hullabaloo, like other Waveframes, you have to hit the ground. And sometimes the ground is not that smooth. Sometimes the bosses move. Or the bosses don't even stand on the ground. For instance, the Hypernet Strike, I can't even use this to deal with the boss. Whereas a regular grenade launcher, I could. Now, what annoyed me especially in the Hypernet Strike is that the ground is uneven. Bungie loves textures. They love putting these little grooves in the ground, little divots, little splits. The problem with that is that completely messes up Waveframes. You know what else messes up Waveframes? Stairs. It's literally the kryptonite of all Waveframes. Now, am I saying Hullabaloo is not a good weapon? Absolutely not. I very much enjoyed using this thing. No, I'm not gonna bring it into every activity, but an activity that is ad dense, especially activities that have overcharged grenade launchers or arc surge, absolutely. This thing really does clear everything in front of you. When you get Volt Shot rolling and Chain Reaction is also taking place, you have a ton of kabloomies that can proc. And the question that I wanted to answer, can Volt Shot proc or re-proc Chain Reaction? Meaning, if I proc Volt Shot and then I shoot and it happens to kill one of the ads with the Jolt damage instead of the actual Waveframe, does that proc Chain Reaction? Unfortunately, guys, no. Chain Reaction has to proc from the actual Waveframe shot itself. Now, it's a small thing, but it is some level of synergy that we like to appreciate. It's the same reason why we re-reviewed Tyranny of Heaven. And it's because Dragonfly and its explosion would actually re-proc Incandescent. And I was hoping for something similar here, but the Jolt damage seems to happen pretty much right away, with the Chain Reaction having that small delay. But at least from my footage and what we've looked at here, it seems like Chain Reaction has to proc from the Waveframe shot itself. Now, would you get the kill anyways? Most likely. I mean, when you consider Jolt damage, the Waveframe shot, everything that's happening here, you're not gonna run into an issue of conflict when it comes to Chain Reaction being procced from a kill. The point is that you're not gonna see like a continuation or a re-procking of Chain Reaction like you would see with things like Tyranny of Heaven, Dragonfly, and Incandescent. Now, how does this directly compare to our Stasis Waveframe grenade launcher, Dimensional Hypotrochoid? One thing Dimensional does have going for it is that it is a craftable weapon. In its third column, it has things like Field Prep and Envious Assassin. In its fourth column, it has perks like One for All, Vorpal, and even Chain Reaction. But first, this weapon is super annoying to get. I'm just saying. Hullabaloo is much easier in my opinion, and it has that unique combination of Volt Shot and Chain Reaction together. I think the biggest difference here is one is Stasis and the other is Arc. Dimensional also comes with Nanotech Tracer rockets, where landing multiple hits turns your next shot into a homing micro rocket. On top of that, you have enhanced perks. So you have enhanced Chain Reaction, which improves ammo reserves. You've got Field Prep, which greatly increases ammo reserves if it's enhanced. But despite those things, guys, I still think I like Hullabaloo more. It's got a dope name. It's got style. It's Edge Transit. Like, let's be real. Literally the same model, which at one time, Edge Transit took over Destiny. It was everywhere. But I think Hullabaloo, though, possesses something that's worth going after. Chain reaction and bolt shots is a unique combination, and watching these kabloomies take place is addicting. In my opinion, guys, it is a grenade launcher worth going for, simply for that reason alone. Now, could you use other perk combinations like one for all? Absolutely, but that kind of makes it ordinary, right? Like, I know we don't have many heavy grenade launchers that are wave frames, but now we're just kind of squeezing into that same category as dimensional. To me, guys, chain reaction, bolt shot, roll, that's the most unique thing here, and that's one that I would go for. So guys, that is our review for Hullabaloo. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Again, if you haven't checked out our guide for Guardian games, we did an entire breakdown of how to farm this event, including its weapons. And if you're looking to get some diamond medallions, we have Twitch drops on all week, every week for the next 3 weeks. Feel free to come by our stream to secure that drop. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.